for the chase now. Take it out, don't let it slow down. 'Cause this is different, this is patience. No, I'm never gonna waste it. Too much too soon, is it right now?
Welcome to my part 2 of my Q&A. So thank you guys so much for watching my part 1 and enjoying that leg workout where I completed 60 reps per set with a bunch of rest pauses in there. Like I felt like I could always hit to like 30-35 reps, and then there was like this insane burn in my hip flexors and like my lower limbs, my calves and like my ankles and everything through the toes of my feet were like burning and on fire. And I only did like 160 pounds, but it was crazy as far as the burn goes. And just the amount of fluid that built up in my legs during that time and the amount of like blood flow I got to my legs, it was just crazy. Thank you guys for watching that and for listening to my previous Q&A. So this is gonna be part 2 of my Q&A, and during this Q&A, I'm going to cover the questions that were regarding nutrition and the ones that were regarding competing. And when I say competing, I mean physique competing. I get questions, a lot about that. So I wanted to be able to give you guys the time to answer those questions. And the previous video was so long, so sorry about that. I guess I'm kind of long-winded as I say that, and I'm like 2 minutes into the video and I haven't answered a single question yet. So we're going to dive right into that. At KRJ1701, and what is the best way to calculate macro/micro needs for fat loss? And the best way to do that is to spend a lot of time in a surplus and see how your body responds to specific fat, carb, and protein intake. So in order to be in a fat loss and have a successful fat loss, you have to know how your body responds in a surplus, first and foremost. You have to determine if your body is responsive to responsive to reduction in fats or responsive to reduction in carbs. That's kind of like the first priority, is you have to determine what kind of type you are. And then you have to also take into consideration during a time of fat loss, you want to preserve as much muscle mass as you can, so your protein needs would most likely increase during a time of fat loss. So there is no really great way to calculate per se, because everybody is going to be different. So the best way to calculate is to figure out how you respond first, and you're not going to know that unless you've spent some time in a surplus. Oh my gosh, she gets as close to the fire as possible. I can't reiterate enough how important a surplus is in order to go through a fat loss phase. So keep those things in mind. I wish I had some better answers for you. There is no calculation for fat loss. There is no specific breakdown of percent of calories, 20, 40, 30% split. There is no one split that is strictly meant for fat loss. Again, everybody is going to be different across the board. I'm going to butcher somebody's name again. At Miss Marcianti. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. At Miss Marcianti said, how does nutrition fuel you? Do you find carbs primarily give you energy, or is it a focus on getting enough carbs and fat? I'll be very honest with you guys. I love fats as far as the taste goes, but my body thrives in a state of a high carbohydrate intake. Now, with that high carbohydrate intake, I also experience far more digestional and intestinal discomfort the more carbohydrate intake I have. However, I fuel and perform well with that. So it's kind of like I have to have a give and take here for me personally. I absolutely love the taste of fats. I would rather have my fats higher and my carbs lower. I feel more satiated, honestly, from more fats than I do more carbs, but I need carbs to lift. If I have a low carb meal prior to lifting, I am crap. Like if I have more of a ketogenic based meal prior to going into the gym, like I feel thinner, like if my abdomen wall like feels empty, and like I feel not so bloated under the bar, and not so much as far as like, I wish my top was looser kind of fitting, like I do when I have a big carb meal, but my performance is shit. Like, I'll just be very honest with you. Like, when I don't have carbs, I can't perform very well. I can't lift for anything. I basically feel like death. So I actually have to go into the gym with at least typically 2 meals in me. I can train with 1 meal in me, but I prefer 2. Have my rice meal, and typically after that meal, I have one of the best performances in the gym possible. I've had a large source of fast digesting carbohydrates. One of the big things I wish I could tolerate well before I train would be oats, but oats make me feel like very weighed down. I just kind of feel like it's just sitting in my stomach when I go to push under the bar, and you know that abdominal pressure that you create from heavy lifting, that's where like the feeling of discomfort can happen for me. So as far as like energy goes, I would have to say I have to have carbs. It's not always the best thing as far as how I feel, but how I perform is better. So at J Kittle asked, do you always consistently track macros, or have you tried intuitive eating? I consistently track macros for 23 weeks prior to me going back onto like a more structured meal plan. So prior to like my full day eating vlog that you guys saw, that was like pre-DAC, I did track macros. I was eating about 4 to 5 meals a day. My energy throughout the day needed to be spread out, and it also needed to be increased. So I'm about 6 meals a day, and I don't open my Fitness Pal ever anymore, which is like a huge blessing. Have you tried intuitive eating? Yes. All through the holidays, I did pretty much intuitively eat. I would track, 1 to 3 meals on my Fitness Pal, and then I would kind of eat what I wanted to for 2 meals and assume that sometimes it would fit. I also ate to like fullness or to capacity, meaning I ate what I wanted to until I could no longer eat anymore and I wasn't hungry. And then when I went on vacation with my husband, I didn't track at all, not a single meal. I ate intuitively. I didn't gain much weight at all on vacation, about 1 to 2 pounds, which is about pretty typical for a vacation weight. So, I've done both. I've been tracking macros for well over 3 years now, a year prior to even working with my nutrition coach. So I feel really confident in my estimation ability. So I do think that I'm intuitively eating. However, I also know most macros for most whole foods like the back of my hand. From at Meredith Lowe Flynn, she asked one of my previous vlog, what's your favorite prep meal? So I don't have it right now in my meal plan, but my favorite meal, or my favorite prep meal that typically shows up in my like high days or in my peak week leading up to a competition, is my chicken and sweet potato with almond butter and sea salt and cinnamon, or switch out the sweet potato for white rice, and I'm in heaven. Like, it is dessert. I love it. I also 100% beg my coach during peak week, can I please have the rice cake with sea salt and like polliners, just all fruit spread. I typically like blackberry. That's so good. Like, when I was tracking macros, I actually would like pre-plan that to be my pre-workout, was the jam, the sea salt, and the rice cake. I mean, it was just like, it's so good. I can't even like tell you how good it is. At HUI_means_herbs asks, when you've eaten certain foods, do you feel your stomach doesn't take it well? I feel like I kind of answered that in that first question about like, how does nutrition fuel you? I love oatmeal. I still eat a bowl of oatmeal every day, and it is my meal number 4. But I do feel more distended and more digestive intolerances from oats. So I'm really happy that it's actually towards the end of my day, because it really doesn't matter at that point. I'm typically like close to being in my pajamas at that point, so like, it don't really matter. But I do know that oats don't sit as well with me as like a cream of rice would. Cream of wheat doesn't sit as well with me either. Also, I have to be really careful about the like whole grains. You know, the Ezekiel bread is about as whole grain as I can do. Breads don't sit well with me. I've really never been a bread person. I don't like a whole lot of bread. So like the English muffins, I digest really well, and I think that's because they're kind of small. So yeah, certain foods do make me feel kind of meh. And like I absolutely 100%, my favorite vegetable is Brussels sprouts, and I eat Brussels sprouts one day and I'm like torn up for like days on end. So that's unfortunate because I really like Brussels sprouts, but like super roughage kind of doesn't sit well with me. I do a lot of my greens in powder form right now because my food volume is so high. So I'm keeping my vegetable intake lower and getting most of my micronutrients from a greens powder because I tend to not be able to break down some of that cruciferous vegetables as well. I've talked about that a lot in my like full days of eating vlogs. At Rachel Sapienza, I don't know why I tend to put a Spanish accent on all of these names. So I'm sorry if I did that with yours and it's not a Spanish last name. What's your opinion on dealing with alcohol in both a cutting and building phase? Alcohol can be present in a off season, aka a building phase. I don't overly consume it. Personally, I don't drink a whole lot of high caloric drinks. I don't like a lot of sweet drinks. I don't like a lot of beers anymore. I used to like beer, like the darker the better, but for some reason I just don't have the taste for it anymore. It's like super bitter to my taste buds. But I love a glass of red wine. Everybody knows that about me. And I love like a mojito is about as sweet as I'll go. Even a margarita is about too sweet for me. And it is only in the off season, and it's maybe twice a week the most, unless it's like a special holiday. Like in a cutting phase, I cut it out. Like they're hands down, it's not there. You know, I might have a sip of red wine here and there of my husband's, but like I am cold turkey in that sense. Like when it's cutting, when it's contest prep, like my foot's on the pedal and I'm not giving up. That's just how I am. I don't believe it should be present in a cutting phase. It's a variable that can throw tons of other variables off. It can throw your training off. It can throw your, water retention off. It's gonna throw way too much and throw too much of a kink in things for it to be in a cutting phase. So if you're cutting and you're not stepping on stage, I can see how that could potentially be, a treat once a week kind of thing and not be detrimental to your progress. But I've never been in a cutting phase where the end goal is not being on the stage. So I can't really speak on a cutting phase with alcohol because again, my cutting phases only exist for the stage. So I'm very, cut and dry there. So that was the last nutrition question. I'm gonna take a sip of water because girl is thirsty. And we're gonna answer all the competition questions or competing questions. Girl, my favorite BFAF, M. Dunk asked, how has your perception of your role as a female in the fitness industry changed since I began competing? So I'm going to reference my I Gave Up vlog, which is in my bikini and figure prep series if you're interested in watching that. It is about my journey in the fitness industry and how I realized that I was a much stronger physique athlete than I was ever going to be a fitness model. I never could quite align myself with that term. I never could quite passionately feel associated with that term. And I also felt like that term placed me under scrutiny at all times as far as how my physique looked. And it didn't allow me to fully embrace what my physique needed to look like in order to step on stage. So I basically kind of maintained myself in a deficit over a long period of time that was detrimental to me internally. Some people can maintain a level of leanness and it not be detrimental to them internally, but I was not one of them. So my role in the fitness industry has definitely changed in the sense that I'm more of an educator now. I definitely fully embrace my role as a coach, both lifestyle and a contest prep coach. I feel that I am making more of a progress when I identify myself as the athlete in the industry and as a coach in the industry rather than align myself as a fitness model. I've had a struggle with that, feeling like obligated to do things that everybody else does in the fitness industry because that is, the way you gain exposure, the way you can increase your personal business. But like those tactics haven't necessarily worked out for me, and I've just never been able to align myself with them. So like I align myself passionately with myself as a trainer and as an athlete. So I've just kind of fully embraced who I am and accepted my strongest place and my strongest value that I can contribute to this industry. So my perception has 100% changed in the past 2 years. But I just to reiterate that, like when I go to step on stage now, I don't schedule a bunch of photo shoots during peak week. I don't schedule a bunch of shoots after I get off stage. I just don't quite clutter my competing with other obligations because first and foremost, I am a competitor, and that time spent during peak week and that time spent on stage and that day post stage are the most important pinnacles for me. My perception has changed. I don't feel that I'm making much of an impact with the term fitness model. I find myself rooted as an educator and as a trainer and as a resource provider, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with that. So I appreciate that question because it allows me to kind of open up about that. And then at Sierra Rose Fit asks, has your opinion in different federations changed? So this is a touchy subject with me because I'm technically not supposed to claim my previous winnings in a previous federation because I have switched federations. I guess I'm not really gonna care much about that because I'm just gonna tell you. But so I did win a pro card in Fitness America and Musclemania as a bikini pro in 2014 in Miami, and that awarded me a pro card on stage. Before, Fitness America Musclemania had not awarded pro cards to bikini athletes because they said that the title of Miss Universe or Miss Fitness Universe was enough, and honestly it is. Like, that pro card really did not mean a whole lot. It did not have a whole lot of weight federation. I had won my first pro show in bikini last June. I took the title at Fitness Universe in the pro division. So I won the whole thing. Nothing I can speak of came out of that. I had reached what you would call the pinnacle of my career within that federation. And my coach and I both decided that I needed a level of competition that would push me a little bit harder and capitalize on what I was internally and intrinsically motivated to do, which is basically be the best physique athlete I can possibly be. And I felt a little bit like I was kind of at the top of my game in that previous federation. So my opinions have changed. At first I was a little bit unsure of the NPC and whether or not I would be okay with that back pose and whether or not I would be okay with the level of competition. And I'm 100% okay with the back pose. I'm 100% okay with the level of competition. I know what I have to stand up against. I get it. And that's why I have a lofty goal ahead of me, because I was at the top of one federation and now I'm at the bottom of another. So and a bottom at a more competitive level. So I have my work cut out for me. But my opinion of them has changed. I do miss the fact that I could, have the theme wear component, because that allows me just a little bit more creativity and a little bit more time on stage. And those shows with Fitness America, Fitness Universe, those were like a whole weekend. So it wasn't just like your one-day show of pre-judging and finals. It was literally like a whole slew of stuff wrapped into one weekend, and it really felt like the 22 weeks I would spend in prep would be like really, really worth it, because I get to like do a lot in a bikini and I just get to do a lot to like showcase how hard I've worked. Whereas an NPC show, it's kind of one and done that weekend. And unless you place in a national qualifying position, you have to do another show. So, it's just a little different. I've, got different shoes to fill. and I'm okay with that. But you know, I love my Fitness Universe family, my Fitness America family. I miss them dearly. It's really hard for me to, you know, when those weekends come around and see all of them, you know, together. It's very hard. So there's that. I miss them. I miss that whole process. But I know that like pushing myself outside my comfort zone is going to pay off in the long run. I'm gonna get like teary-eyed thinking about like not seeing them come June. Last question. At jworkman30 asks, what is your advice to women who do not want to compete but love training hard and lifting? Question I feel like was asked in my last one. I wish I had known this was, I wish I had like overseen this. But if you love lifting and training hard, just love lifting and train hard. Like, we work on imbalances and we strive to improve imbalances on stage. But, you know, overall, like, you as a athlete should strive to improve imbalances as well. You should strive to train as hard as you can consistently. You should track your volume. You should track your load days. You should track your 1 rep max. Like, you should understand those aspects of lifting regardless of whether you plan to step on stage or not. So cardio, you know, should be present in most programs. And, you know, you should be training on a split. You should be training different body parts on different days. You should be allowing adequate recovery. My advice is continue to train hard and continue to love lifting. If that's where you want to be, competing doesn't have to be where you know, find the, you know, pinnacle of what you love, or find something, you know, powerlifting, Olympic lifting. There's all kinds of ways you can be involved in your love of lifting and training hard and not feel like you have to go through a cutting phase or, you know, a fat loss phase to step on stage. You know, that process is for a small margin of people, and I feel like the majority of these individuals are on YouTube and are on social media. So it may seem like, you know, this is the route you have to take because so many of us are social influencers and on social media. But understand that we are like still a small niche of people, and the majority of people just aren't influencing the large masses. So understand that like the majority of people who love lifting and training hard aren't competitors. What you're watching is just us because we put a lot of our stuff out there. That's really it. But you know, 9 out of 10 people in the gym who are lifting hard and training hard and lifting heavy are there because they love it and they're intrinsically motivated by the drive to be better every day in the gym. So you don't always have to compete. I'm going to conclude this vlog here. Thank you guys so much for watching my part 2 of my Q&A. Thank you guys for all your questions. I really was floored by the quality of questions that you guys asked. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this community. I really appreciate it. I just wouldn't have the drive to, you know, actually put my content out there and vlog and be committed to this process if I wasn't getting such an overwhelmingly positive response from you guys. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And if you love my channel, please give me a thumbs up. If you love, you know, all my content I'm producing, please subscribe. We are almost at 5K, which I'm so excited about. And I just would have never thought that this would have happened and that, you know, I would be able to, you know, educate people on, you know, more than just competing. So I thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Mwah.